Guys, it's official. I'm in a reading slump and it's not going well. The last thing I want to do right now is pick up a book. And I haven't felt this way any day of this year. It's Monday, the 23rd of June, and I am losing it. Not only am I in a reading slump, I am in a literal life slump. I don't know what to say. I think it's just because it's now winter. Something about June, when we get into the colder months, where I just have no motivation to do anything. I don't want to read. I don't want to work out. I don't want to wake up early. Like, I just don't have a routine because I don't have any motivation to do anything. Nothing is wrong, but I just feel so flat, so unmotivated. Don't know what this video is going to turn into. I think it might be a bit of a shorter video, but in today's video, I would like to do a little bit of a winter reset, both in a bookish sense and in a life sense as well, so that I can get to enjoying this season rather than spending the entirety of winter just waiting for summer. But let's talk books. The last book I read was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, and it was so good. Too good, in fact, because I have found myself unable to read a book after that point. After reading something like that, usually I do like a good bit of whiplash with a sharp genre change, but I think I need something complicated to read, which might sound like the wrong thing to do when you're facing a reading slump, but I think that's really what will get me out of it. Last year, I read The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Mistborn series, but I ended up not picking up the rest of the series. I don't know why, because I did like The Final Empire, but something happened at the end of that book, I remember it very well, where I was just like, oh. So I put a pause on that series, but I think I want to finish it. And I just really hope that a good fantasy series will pull me out of there. I think the fact I decided to do a little reread of a book, even though it is more complex fantasy and not like a fun, quick, brainless kind of romance, is a very good thing. For those of you who haven't heard of Mistborn or haven't read any of the books in this series, it's set in a world where there is a group of people called the Scar who are oppressed. They are basically slaves, and there is this one big dominant ruler called the Lord Ruler. At the very beginning of the book, we meet a supposed Scar who is actually uprising, or like he's rebelling a little bit, and he has a power called allomancy, and this is a power to do with manipulating metals. Our main character is a young girl called Vin. She also shares this power, but she doesn't know much about it. So basically, that man, Kelsier, takes Vin under his wing to train her up and teach her a little more about how to use her allomancy and essentially bring about the fall of the final empire. That's where we're going to start with this video, trying to work my way out of a reading slump. But don't worry, there is a bunch of other stuff that I need to get around to. But let's force my way out of this, because if I continue going down this path, I'm gonna end up with a bit of seasonal depression. Like, I know this all too well. I know what this feeling is like, so it's time to force our way out of this stagnancy and make winter great again. That might not be the best thing to say right now. I'm not sure this attempt to get out of reading slump is working. It's now the next day, and I read up to about 20% yesterday, and then I turned it off and I started watching that cheerleader show. I'm now a third of the way through, and I swear I'd forgotten just how slow-paced, or like setting it up is a little slow-paced, but I had forgotten that. And also Brandon Sanderson writes really big chapters, so it'll be like a 30-minute chapter. We're talking Kindle time, so I'm not used to that. I know I like this book. I gave it 4 stars the first time I read it, so it's just a matter of pushing through, but that's not the easiest thing to do when you're in a reading slump. When it comes to my life slump, it's another story. I went to the gym last night. I'm very proud of myself. Small wins. As for the book, we haven't got to the fun part yet. I know what the fun part is. It's not a spoiler at all. It's just that our main character, Vin, under Kelsier's direction, she pretends that she is part of the aristocracy, and she worms her way into the nobility of the society. I have no real plans today other than to keep reading, but I'm also thinking later in the day we might go pick up the physical copy of the second book from the library. I have a little bit of an update. I don't want to admit to this update, but it's life. I'm stopping. I can't do this. I'm less than 50% of the way in. In fact, I believe, yeah, no, wait, I'm 52% of the way in. It's just not, it's not working for me. I know I like this book. I have read it. I have enjoyed it. I know what happens. Something about it is just not clicking for me right now. I'm not in a headspace to really read this. I don't feel like I want to be reading this. When I think about it, I'm like, oh, I think it's safe to say I'm just going to put that aside for now. The great thing about reading is you're literally never running out of time. I can pick these books up whenever. So I'm just gonna put Mistborn to the side right now. I'm not gonna read for the rest of today. I'm just going to chill. I'm gonna try again tomorrow. I'm gonna switch up the genre. I think I will do a romance. You know what? If it gets me out of the reading slump, it's done its job well. I made a TikTok about my really awful reading slump and I asked people for advice, and some people said just switch up the genre completely. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I have decided to pick up a romance book, one that was actually on my physical TBR, so I'm doing something of value right now. It's going to be The Other Brother by Tierney Page, and look at this gorgeous proof copy. I was lucky enough to be invited to an event last month for this book where we met the author, who's an absolute sweetheart, and she told us a little bit about what the book's going to be like. It's set in London and it's about a girl who ends up falling for her ex-fiance's brother, who is a musician, so in a way, I don't know why, it was giving like Wattpad One Direction, but in a good way to me. And I thought this might be quick, easy, breezy. Like this might be a good one to read to get myself out of a reading slump, because it does kind of just promise to be a fun little romance book, and maybe that's what I need. The author is actually a book talker as well. That's how she got her start. So yeah, I just think it would be a lot of fun. And guys, this is my first signed copy ever. Okay, book update. It's been 1 hour. 1 hour since I spoke to you last, and I'm literally 20% of the way through this book. Whoever commented on my TikTok, you were correct. I just needed to switch up the genre because this is working so well for me. So it's about a girl who basically gets cheated on by her fiance, breaks up with him, and ends up falling for his musician brother. However, like that hasn't happened yet. Only 20% of the way through this book. She's just dealing with like her breakup right now. I'm on page 72 out of 350, I believe. It's fun. I think from like a technical or more critical standpoint, the writing is not great. Like I can fully admit that. It's very much telling rather than showing. Like it's very, I don't know, it reminds me of the way that you write when you first begin writing, which makes sense. This is a debut novel. But yeah, not in love with the writing, but I keep reading and I think it might be curing my slump. I haven't touched my phone once in the hour that I was reading, and getting through 72 pages in an hour after a reading slump is actually pretty damn good. So thank you, Tierney Page. Other news, I did promise you guys a little bit of a reset, and what I meant by that was that bottom shelf down there is full of books that I want to donate. Now my bookshelves are full, so I was thinking maybe today is the day we do a little bit of a bookshelf clean out and get rid of those books that I don't want. Let's actually go through these books. The first is An Academy for Liars. I read this last year. This was kindly gifted to me by the publisher. It's not something I want to go back to. I don't plan on continuing. A very similar story with The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi, The Half King by Melissa Landers, and Ever Blessed by Olivia Flynn. These are all advanced copies, and you guys know I don't really love having books on my shelf that I didn't adore, so I will be getting rid of those proofs. And then as for books that I don't quite like, First We Were Four by Alexandra Sirui. This one, I bought this one like a decade ago. I don't remember anything about it, don't feel like reading it again. It has a gorgeous cover though. We have two Colleen Hoover books here. The Striker by Anna Huang. Ugh, I hated that book. The North Wind by Alexandra Warwick. I think with The North Wind, I like the concept, but it's been done to death. It's the exact same concept as Uprooted or Akatar. And then there are books in here that I have duplicates of, such as The City of Bones, and then A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Just over 100 pages to go until I'm finished this book. So let's talk my thoughts about it. Firstly, I'm no longer in a reading slump. I think this was the perfect choice to get me out of that slump because it's just very digestible. It's a fun little romance book. There's not a lot of like complicated stuff to it. Now, when it comes to the writing, I don't love the writing. I think, like I said, it's very much telling rather than showing. As for our characters, I don't feel connected to them either, because it's not like we can see inside their heads. Like, it really doesn't feel that way. It feels like we're just getting everything they're thinking or feeling explained rather than shown. So yeah, I'm struggling to connect to them. Sometimes I feel like a lot of romance authors, female romance authors, will put a lot of energy into making the male main character as good as possible, as like good, as lovely, as responsible, as caring as possible, but that energy isn't returned for the female characters, and I kind of feel it in this one. Our main character is, I believe, 31 years old. She doesn't really have the best communication skills. She needs to be like talked through all of her decisions by her friends. Like, she's frustrating me. And the same goes for the male main character, actually. He has to have a friend on standby to tell him the most obvious things on the planet. But the fact that I'm in a slump and it's pulling me out of the slump, I'm gonna finish this book, absolutely. Like, I'm so close to the end. I did actually end up finishing The Other Brother by Tierney Page last night. Not me matching the book. I think I summarized my thoughts pretty sufficiently, like when I was reading it. I just didn't really connect that much to it. I'm glad I read it because, like I said, it pulled me out of that slump. But I think there could be improvements to the writing, to getting us to connect to the characters. The romance itself, like, I was fine with it, but there was something missing. I just couldn't bring myself to care about the romance, and it did feel very like 0 to 100 very quickly. I wish there'd been a little more exploration, perhaps like with past flashbacks as to April and James's relationship, because them getting together just came out of nowhere. The author put in like time jumps. There was like 3 months later, 6 months later, stuff like that. I don't love time jumps, and the reason for that is you miss all of that character development, you miss all of that relationship development in those gaps. And so when they do get together, it feels a bit random sometimes. I was thinking, what do I want to read next? I decided to switch over to some fan fiction. So obviously it's like familiar people, a familiar environment to me, but a new story. So I thought that might be a little better for a reading slump. I'm currently reading Things We Say in the Dark, and I read Hermione, by the way, in case you're new to this channel. It's about them as like professors together in Hogwarts. So I started that, and to nobody's surprise, I'm already 40% of the way through it. So I think we can say that this reading slump is well and truly over. But it's time to address the other slump, which was my life slump. I'm addressing that too. I'm doing not one, but 2 social activities, one of which is a self-care activity today. I'm gonna go get my nails done. Look, you don't want it. I do just feel a lot more put together when I have my nails done, so I'm gonna do that with my friend. And then today's a Thursday. Today's the day that the Formula 1 movie releases. I'm a big fan of F1. I don't think I've ever talked about it on YouTube before, but I adore Formula 1, so I'm gonna go watch that. All this to say, not a lot of reading will be done today, but that's okay because I think I'm out of the slump. I just realized I completely forgot to end this video, but I did like the F1 movie. I enjoyed it a lot, especially the little cameos, because it takes place during last year's season. Like, the teams are the same, the drivers are the same team principals, like, you know everyone in the movie, but it has this like fictional twist with an additional team. With regards to my little slump, I think we are well and truly on the way out. However, I did put a little pause on reading that fanfic because something showed up at my door when I woke up yesterday. Catabasis. The arc for Catabasis showed up at my door. I am so excited. This book is about 2 students who study magic who must journey down into hell to save their professor's soul. This is right up my alley. I love mythology, love R.F. Kuang, love a good fantasy romance, so I'm very excited to read that. Today, my book club and I will be meeting up. We're going to like a dumpling bar kind of place. I swear we just use book club as an excuse to try all the restaurants in Sydney, but I will be doing that later. However, for now, it's goodbye, and I'll see you next week for the reading wrap up. I think this was a pretty good reading month. See you next week.